Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all our sponsors for those prizes as well. Right, so if I can ask for the 2 awards. As I was saying, 2 great individuals chosen by our advisory board. It's the first time that we've even put together any awards, and I can't imagine 2 other more deserving individuals that we're going to recognize today. So thank you to the advisory board. It was head-to-head choices between the 2. So we were looking at doing 1, and we actually created 2 because we felt both had done so much for the industry that actually we should be recognizing both and creating 2 different awards that we can carry for. And the first person that I'd like to invite up to the stage to receive his award is Mr. Mossadeck Bally, the CEO of Azalaï Hotels, for the AHIF Leadership Award. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mossadeck. Have a seat. I'll get your partner in crime up on stage now. So, the second award for outstanding contribution to Africa is our good friend Trevor Ward, Managing Director of W Hospitality. Thank you. Cheers. Please have a seat. I'm going to ask you questions from afar, it seems, so I'm going to try and move over a little bit. Just a bit of background, first of all, for Mossadeck, and then I'll follow up with Trevor. Mossadeck was born in 1961 in the Republic of Niger. Father was a trader in northern part of Mali. Moved back to Bamako at 9 years of age, bringing it all back now. Schools were closed, and you went to Marseille. In 82, San Francisco Business School, and graduated in 1985. So people are trying to work it out now, Mossadeck. You came back to Bamako and worked in export business for 10 years, but you decided that actually it'd be more impactful and create more jobs by moving to the hospitality industry. In 94, he acquired the mythical Grand Hotel in Bamako, and with a loan from IFC. So IFC got you off the ground those many years ago and bought out the privatization and reopened in February 95, making traveling to Bamako even easier. Have renovated again just recently, as I understand. The second hotel in 2000, and today has 10 hotels. Is that correct? 10 hotels, 1,000, with 1,000 rooms total. And your plan is to double that in the next 4 to 5 years. Currently, you employ 3,000 both directly and indirectly. So congratulations. Great story and well-deserved. I'll come back to you in a second. Now, Trevor has 40 years in advising clients and making a huge impact to the industry. 19 countries around the globe and 49 in Africa. You worked for Horwath in London in 1983, and then you worked with Jonathan Worsley, the Jonathan Worsley, back in Hotel Partners in the early 90s, before going back and forth to Africa and traveling to Nigeria. And in 2003, you moved to Lagos, married his sweetheart, Susie. You'd give us the date of that a bit later. And now you're the young dad, again with the adorable Alice.
I'm an old dad.
Yes. Anyway, so we sort of get the feeling, Mossadeck, that it was making an impact, creating an impact that drew you into the hospitality industry. So, Trevor, what was your motivation for being in the hospitality industry? What was your motivation for being part of the hospitality industry?
Oh, gosh. I mean, a very, very long time ago, I wanted to go into management. Someone suggested hospital management, but I didn't want to be with sick people all the time. It really So hotel management was very appealing, and I found I loved it, as many people do. I didn't mind the long hours and the ridiculously low pay, and just progressed and decided consulting was going in. And I mean, it's interesting you just mentioned about how Mossadeck's company and he has created 3,000 jobs. My motivation at the moment is very much to get hotels built and operating in Africa and creating jobs, because I just feel that's what it's all about. I'm also very proud that I've actually created jobs within my own company. We're very small, but we've had people come and go, and those people who have left to go on to very good jobs. So it's just all about jobs.
It's interesting because you mentioned there, obviously, for you that the part of the interest there is the challenges, and you were motivated by creating jobs. So tell us, Mossadeck, as a hotelier, what have been some of those challenges for you over the years?
Well, personally, the first challenge, well, first I would like to thank the advisory board for this award, and congratulate yourself, Jonathan, your whole team for the great job you've been doing in getting together all the industry leaders. The first time I attended AHIF was here in Nairobi in 2013. It was at the Intercon, and I remember I came 2 days after the Westgate shooting.
Yeah.
And many delegates cancelled, but of course, as an African, I wanted to come, discover Kenya, and come and support Kenya at a very difficult time. So happy to be back in Nairobi. So for me personally, the first challenge was to move from the traditional job we were doing in my family, which was commodity trading, and go into hospitality. So that was the first challenge. I remember some of my cousins and uncles were debating whether I should leave the family company and start my own company and invest in an industry which was really not well known in Mali. And especially, I am Muslim also, and this is not an industry in which many Muslim investors, and Mr. Ministers here can confirm that easy to invest into hospitality. But I wanted to make also the case that it's possible for African investors to invest in this industry and to succeed in this industry. So that was the first challenge, I would say a family challenge. And then the second challenge was to source financing, because I was not a hotelier. I decided to invest into hospitality industry. So, and that's where IFC really helped, and I thank Bernard, who's here, and Mr. Mega also, who is here, and the whole IFC team, Mariam Travali, who is our principal. At the very beginning, in 1994, IFC believed in me, in my managerial capacity, and they financed the refurbishment of Grand Hotel de Bamako. So I was lucky enough to come across IFC. And the third challenge was to renovate a very old hotel, 1952. It was built in 1952 by during French colonial time. So, and then the last, of course, challenge was to have a good HR team. And I was fortunate to have my first GM, who was a very good GM, who did a very good training job. And I would say that today, most of my close team is from that first team, which was hired and trained by our first GM, Mr. Bertrand Boyer. So these are the challenges that I faced. Today, we still face some of these challenges: access land at a very reasonable price, construction challenges, delays, cost overrun, HR training, but today it has become my passion.
Thank you. And Trevor, you were 16 years ago. You were 16 years in Lagos, and you didn't have to do Africa. So what inspired you? What caught your eye? What made you focus on the market?
Yeah, good question, because during the 1990s, well, during the 1980s, I was doing a lot of work in Turkey, beautiful country. During the 1990s, I was doing a lot of work in Eastern Europe and the Central Independent States, CIS, former USSR. So I got very used to developing economies, developing and underdeveloped. And then it just came about that within a short space of time, I was asked within my company to go to do some work in Angola and to do some work in Kenya here in Diani, and to do some work in a place called Monrovia. And for some reason I knew where Monrovia was, and it wasn't in the Czech Republic or Poland, or because it sounds European, and I actually knew it was Liberia, and the client was so impressed he gave me the work. So, and then along comes a job from a UK bank to do a work in Lagos. So I went to Lagos and I kind of sniffed the air and thought, yeah, I think I can cope with this. And like I'd done in other markets, I developed a local client base, kept going there through all the awful years of the mid-1990s, which we try and forget. And then late 1990s, I was just going there so much, I thought, well, hang on a minute, let's move there. Gosh, did I know nothing. It's one thing going backwards and forwards to a country and staying in hotels. It's another thing going there and getting an apartment and wondering what the hell that noise is. Oh, well, it's the generator. Oh, what's a generator? Okay. You know, I was just attracted by the opportunity in Africa and found that I could cope with it, basically.
Well, I'm sure the industry thanks you for that. Questions to both of you now. Who are your inspirations? Mossadeck first.
My hero is my father, because I went to business school, but my real training was done next to him. He really trained me. He gave me responsibilities at a very early stage, so I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes, so I learned from these mistakes. And he was very patient with me, and I owe him whatever I am today, so he's my real hero. But I also have some great respect for a great hospitality industry leader who is Paul Dubril, whom I met a couple of years ago in Cambodia when I went to visit his school. And now I meet him once a year at the International Advisory Board in Lausanne. And he's a very inspiring industry leader. So my hero is my father, and an industry leader I really respect is Paul Dubril.
Perfect.
I like the word inspiration, who's inspired me. I go back to the 1980s to a gentleman who I'm not sure anybody would remember, but a gentleman called Jonathan Bodlender. Who was the chairman of Horwath in the UK, but a larger-than-life figure. They used to call him a legend in his own lunchtime, because he was very fond of lunch. And he became a global figure within the Horwath network, within what was then called the World Tourism Organization before it became UN. He spoke, though, at the UN Assembly once, and so he was an inspiration that, you know, you can do big things as one person. And then there's another person, and that gentleman's called Mr. Goody Ibru. Some of you will know him, who with his team, he developed a hotel, a Sheraton hotel, big one, 300 rooms in Lagos and he was an absolute pioneer. And he did it. He got it done through all the trials and tribulations of doing business in Nigeria. And this is, where are we, 30, 40 years ago that this project was conceived and built. And he did it against all the odds and became extremely successful. And became a good friend and was at the father at my wedding with Zusi. Zusi, not Susie. Zusi.
They're telling our time is up, but I'm enjoying this too much, so I'm going to carry on. Yeah. I want to, talking of inspiration, I'd like Nizar to say a few words, because Nizar, tell us your story with working with Trevor and how... Yes, please do.
Oops.
Yeah, I have the whole afternoon, right? You okay with it?
Yeah, I'm sure they don't
It's
need
a long
to go.
story, but
Yeah.
I'll make it short.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister, delegates. I'm pleased to be here. This is my 6th visit to this forum, AHIF. I kiss this very well. And I come to my home country, born in Muranga, raised in Mombasa. So thank you very much. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Mossadeck. I have a few words to share. I left Kenya to go for my further studies in Canada, and returned back to the continent about 6 years ago. Came to this very forum, and I met Trevor. And what I want to share, this journey is very important, is that we are a hotel developer in Canada. It's not like walk in the park, as when you come in. There are some sensitivities. There are areas that we can teach one another. And when I came first here, it was like, okay, we're going to develop a hotel or a real estate development. And it wasn't as easy until I met Trevor. So Trevor, I want to publicly acknowledge our journey of 6 years. It has been difficult 6 years, learning for 6 years, and without Trevor's support, guidance, I wouldn't be standing here today doing a $250 million mixed-use development in Angola, and without my friends from IFC. So collectively, this forum helped us breed, take a Kenyan-born African Indian into Angola, Portuguese speaking. How do you navigate through all these prisms and make it a success? So I would attribute my inspiration to Trevor, who's really...
Thank you.
Trevor.
Thank you, Nizar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate it.
I could leave it there, but I'm going to ask them one more question.
Yes.
What's your vision of the African market in 10 years?
In 10 years, of course, as we said in many sessions, more hotels in mid-scale, economy, service apartments, more international branded hotels, but also more African branded hotels. So that's my vision in 10 years. I'm very passionate about this industry. I am very bullish, and that's why we are expanding. And very soon, I promise Mr. Minister will come to Kenya. And I think there is a future for the young people I met this morning at the session with Ben. They have a bright future. Hospitality, and this is for the young students, hospitality is not I would say, a transit job. It's an industry. It's the biggest industry today on earth, 10% of global GDP. It's the industry which creates the most jobs in any country. So you have to love what you do, and so that you can have a brilliant career in this hospitality. So sometimes when I talk to my friends, Bernard is here, they question our development plans. Is it too bullish? Is it too ambitious? But if you take the ratio of the rooms compared to the population in Africa, and you compare to what the same ratio in America or Europe, I mean, the sky is the limit.
Sky is the limit.
The sky is the limit.
And Trevor, how about you?
I'm not going to give you a vision. I'm going to give you a wish list. As you know, I'm known for my pipeline, and I had a bit of a dig yesterday, if you were here, at the quality of this pipeline. But the pipeline is there, and there is a lot of quality in the pipeline. And obviously, what I want to see is those hotels built and creating jobs. We had a statistic on the first day that we need 18 million a year.
50,000 a day, right?
50,000
A day.
A day.
A day.
In Nigeria alone, our net increase in population is 6 million a year. 6 million. Get round that figure, because I can't.
No.
I can't cope with that figure. In a decade, that's 60 million new people needing education and jobs. The UN WTO Sec Gen yesterday, I think, said, or was it? No, it was Krishna Seth at WTTC about how we create so many jobs. So, I mean, this is just the word that comes out all the time, is jobs, jobs, jobs. Now, I see the Minister, Honourable Balala, in the audience here, and I'm not saying it because he's here, but I just wish that governments, I'll say it, like the Nigerian government, could do even half of what the Kenyan government does in terms of tourism. I'll say it again, the Nigerian government does nothing. It just doesn't recognize that, here we go again, how many jobs we can create. Now, I'm not saying that we can create 6 million a year in Nigeria or 60 million in a decade. I'm not saying we can make even a drop in the ocean on the 50,000. But hey, boy, if we can get one hotel open which creates 200 jobs, that is a step forward. So sometimes, and some of you all heard this story, I find the macro picture too difficult to get to grips with. Far too difficult. I can't understand this 6 million, 60 million, 18 million. What we can do is focus on what we can do and get Nizar's hotel open in Luanda and create 130 jobs. If IFC thinks that's wrong and we've lied, I'm sorry. But whatever the figure is, and then the five people in the family that are supported by one wage earner, and the indirect jobs and the induced jobs and jobs and jobs and jobs.
But if I may, 1 minute, I know time is up. If I have to express a couple of wishes, as Trevor did, my first wish is to have a completely African open sky. Any African airline can fly to any part of the continent. Second wish, a completely visa-free Africa travel.
Amen.
Amen.
And congratulations to Kenya. 5 years ago when I came, it took me all 1 month to assess my visa. I had to go to, I think, Abidjan or Dakar to get my visa. This time it took my PA, not even me, my PA, 20 minutes to assess the visa to come here. Congratulations to Kenya. Third wish, we must have one Hôtelier college in each African country.
Yeah.
Because we cannot build hotels, invest billions of dollars in hotels without the true capital, which is the human capital.
I don't see a better way to finish. Thank you so much, both. Please stay sitting.